Hey everybody, welcome to Fortunate Creations. I'm Kim, and this is a channel where we talk about everything to do with crafting and being creative. So from amigurumi to weaving and everything in between. If you like crafting and being creative, stick around. I think you're going to like it here. So today I'm talking about being creative with your plants, your house plants. So as you can see here, I have quite a variety of different planters. So I'm going to show you how you can take pretty much any watertight container in your house and make it into a planter. But what you have to be careful with is you need to make sure there's drainage. So normal traditional planters already have the holes in the bottom, and then you put a saucer underneath it so that you catch the water when you water the plant. But what if you want to be more creative and you want to use a dish or something that's around the house and you want to make it into a pretty planter? Well, I'm going to show you how. So let's take this bowl and turn it into a planter, okay? As you can see, it's just a regular bowl. There's no holes in the bottom. So what you need to make sure is you create a drainage level, okay? So you can go right out to your driveway, scoop up a handful of stones, or you can use what I have here. I happen to have some decorative stones that I'm just going to put in the bottom, okay, right here. Tip this down a little bit. Now remember, when you're working with plants, you're going to make a mess. That's all there is to it. You're working with dirt, and dirt makes a mess. So just let yourself know you're going to make a mess. So put in a nice level of the rocks. Not too much, because remember, it's not that deep of a dish. So you have to make sure you leave room to put your plant and your dirt in. So here you go. There's a nice little level here of the drainage. And now you can add in your dirt. So I have a bucket here. Move that over like that. I have a bucket here of dirt. And remember, like I said, you're working with dirt. You're going to make a mess, but you can try to be as neat as possible. Now, in with my dirt, I actually have a few of those glass beads that I let disperse themselves throughout the planter itself. That also helps with the drainage. Now remember, you're going to water these plants, but you're not going to be able to see what's going on down here. So you want to make sure you have the drainage in place and make sure that you monitor, even though you have a good drainage system, monitor the soil moisture level. Okay, so here we go. We have this all ready. Let's set it down here. And here is my nursery of baby spider plants. So the story behind these little guys is I was in an office and my boss at the time put a giant spider plant next to my desk. He just had to get it out of his house. He just didn't want it there anymore. And his wife didn't like plants. So he brought it in knowing that I love plants. Well, what he didn't know was that that plant had about 50 babies already ready to go. I mean, some of them were big. They were tall. So I asked my boss, I said, do you mind if I take some of the babies? And he said, you know, take away, take as many as you like. So I took them and I put them in water, and you can see now they're developing a great root system. So these babies are ready to get out of the water and into some dirt, because they do actually need the nutrients that dirt can give them. The water's great for them to establish their roots. And you'll even notice if you look in here, I did sprinkle a little bit of the potting soil in the water because the older plants actually need more nutrients. So I just sprinkle a little bit of the dirt actually in the water that they're sitting in, and that gives them a little bit of nutrients. So you've got your drainage, you've got your dirt, you want to put your plant in. So you want to dig a hole deep enough so that your little plant will stand up without too much stress, okay? And you want to go ahead, put the dirt around it, not too tight. Don't pack it in there too tight, but just give it a nice little base where it'll stand up. All right, and then I take and I add a little bit more dirt. And again, work in an area where you can get dirty, because you're going to. And even though you carefully grab a handful of dirt, you know some will fall out of your hand on the way to and from your bucket to your planter. And here we go. Okay. So this little plant here now is going to start its brand new life in this pot right here that I took from a bowl that I bought at Goodwill for 59 cents. Look how beautiful that is. And there we have a brand new planter. Now this can go in a hanging, one of those macrame plant hangers, or it can sit on your shelf. It's perfect right there. Absolutely perfect. I want to share a couple other that I have already made with you. So again, you want to try to keep the types of plants together that take the same requirements of water and light and temperature. So these are all succulents, okay? So I've got a cactus, which is a succulent. I've got an air plant set in here. These are very versatile. I just put it in here because it really doesn't care where you put it. So all of these are succulents. They take the same amount of lighting and the same amount of water, and you'll notice I have rocks on top, and I also have drainage in the bottom. So keeping in mind, these types of plants do not need a lot of water. They like to get completely dry between waterings, and then you soak them. If you think about it, it's like the desert, okay? These plants, succulents, are a lot like cactus in the desert. So the desert gets dry, 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 and then they get monsoon rains, and then dry, dry, dry. So kind of keep that in mind when you have a cactus or a succulent. What else do I have in here? Now, you're going to see this beautiful plant and a cool planter that I made for it. So let me bring this up a little bit, and look how pretty that is. So this is actually a planter that I found this vase at my mom's house, and I found this plant on the clearance section in Lowe's. It was half the size. So I put the drainage in the bottom. I went ahead and put the dirt in. I'm going to give it a little bit more dirt because as you water it, the dirt's going to settle in. So even though this dirt looks like it was up to the top when I planted it, it is now settled. And I want to make sure that this plant has enough dirt in it so that the roots don't become exposed, or the bottom doesn't become exposed. Okay? And then again, you're going to monitor it. You can always tell if there's too much water, the plant will start to droop. Just don't automatically water them every week. Make sure you get the habit of stick your finger right in there. Okay? And if it's moist, if you can feel moisture when you're at this knuckle, you're good. Don't water it again. Okay, so this plant is good. I'm not going to water it this week, but I did give it a little bit extra dirt. And there we go. And I can even, to help keep some of the moisture in, you can take some of the rocks that you used for drainage and put them on top. What that does is it stops some of the evaporation and actually looks pretty. So, so there we go. We got some pretty white rocks in there. And a lot of the times with flowers that I do, I put a bird in. I don't know why. For me, flowers mean birds. So I go ahead and put a cute little bird in there. Adds a little pop of color, adds a little personality, and there's a beautiful plant to add to your family. Now this one here is actually due for a transplant. So what I'd like to do is find a pot for it, and we can transplant this one together. So let me find a pot and I'll be right back. All right, so talk about being creative. I found this old coffee pot, teapot, whatever you want to call it, out in the garage, and I want to make it this plant's new home. It's kind of deep, so you can take things like other plastic pots, or you can take a plastic water bottle. You can take anything plastic that will not rot. You can put in the bottom of this because you don't need this whole entire thing filled with dirt. That wastes money because you don't need that much dirt. So what I'm going to do is, before I start putting in the drainage layer, I'm going to put in these not old, but these disposable shot glasses. Okay, we're not using them, and they were in the scrap, but you want to make sure when you put them in there, they're facing down or on their side, because you do not want them to be facing up where they're going to hold the water and that water will rot. Okay, so you put those in there just to bring it up a little bit. You know, you don't have to put quite a few of them in there. You don't have to make sure they're all perfect, but you want to make sure they're all facing down or on their side. Okay, so there I go with that. This also helps with the drainage. And for this one, I'm going to add in a little bit of active charcoal. Now, the funny story behind this is my brother gave me charcoal for Christmas, thinking it was a joke. Little did he know, it is a perfect way to add drainage into my plant. So thank you to my brother for my Christmas present yet again. Okay. Again, making sure nobody tipped so that they're going to hold water. And then I'm going to add the rest of the drainage. Some of these rocks in here. Okay. We got a great drainage level here. And now for the dirt. Now for the messy part. And I always keep a bag of potting soil ready in my house because, well, because I'm always rescuing plants. All right, so I've got the dirt right about to there. I'm going to dig a little hole so that this plant will fit nicely right in the center. And be very careful when you're taking them out of where they've been resting, because a lot of plants you don't know if it's just one root in there or if it's a bunch of little plants. This one seems to be one good root. Look how cool that looks in here. How fun is that? Going to add a little bit of dirt around it. Now don't worry if the dirt gets on the plant, because it will shake down. It'll settle. And the plant doesn't mind dirt. That's what they do. So just remember, make sure you get enough in the planter itself, excuse me, so that it will hold it up. And the roots are covered, and you got yourself a happy little plant. Look at that. Nice, cool conversation piece for your planter. Jiggle the dirt. Oh boy, am I making a mess. Yes, 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 I am. There you go. So there's a cool idea for a new planter. That'll go right nicely right in my living room. And again, this old coffee pot now has a new life, and this little plant now has room for its roots to grow. So there you go. Lots of different ways to use regular household items as planters. The key is just make sure you have a drainage layer in there. If you have a pot that has holes in the bottom, that's fine. You don't need a drainage layer. Like most planters, you'll see this one. Ooh, now I'm hiding behind a plant. Most planters, you'll see this one. Let me move this over here. This plant came with the decorative planter on the outside and the planter with the holes in the bottom. Okay, that way when you water it, the water saves in the planter itself, and the plant can pull off of that water to keep itself watered and fresh. There we go. All right, so that's a great way to take plants and take items that you have around your house and make them into planters. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and be creative. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.